Peace, peace. Doing Garvey, not talking Garvey. Here, been a long time since I've been online to discuss, what's Doing Garvey's about. Um, well, I'm back in the States. I had to come back due to the fact that my mother-in-law passed. Of course, I don't know if some of you have been watching. I've been in Kenya for several months, and I had to return earlier than I anticipated from Kenya. My condolences goes out to the brothers and sisters in Kenya. Hate to hear about this tragedy that's happening and over there. The crisis, should I say, as well. All my heart goes out to the people who's out there going through this struggle. Myself, I could have been caught out there and experienced some of that myself, but thanks to the ancestors, I wasn't. I was able to make it back to the States safely. Middle towards the end of March. So I've been back for about a month now, almost. What I came here to talk about is the fact that there's a lot going on online concerning us kidnapped Africans from America. I don't know, in different African countries, there's a little conflict going on, about our presence there on the continent. It seems as though people don't know the history of us kidnapped Africans from America. We laid the groundwork for a lot of the things that our people, brothers and sisters on the continent, is benefiting from right now. That's on the continent as well as here in America. Our contribution to the technology of America, inventions, music, the arts. We've been a contributing people, where people also have been instrumental in the Pan-Africanism movement, our solidarity with our brothers and sisters, crisis on the continent, the different revolutions that occurred, our influence there, without any assistance. We did it off the muscle of us kidnapped Africans, We've, everything we've done, because we're people that are stripped of everything, Some of us might have traveled to the continent, traveled to America, and was already here when the white man showed up, the Spanish man, whoever, they showed up here to America. We was already intermingling even with the native brothers and sisters, or the people of the land of America, or we were those people. But I'm coming from the perspective that I'm one of the kidnapped Africans that was brought to America. We're people who lost everything off of the continent. People can continue to forget about the fact that we're people that's kidnapped people and brought to America, and that we lost our whole identity that we had on the African continent. And just not that, but the land in which was left back on the continent, that was ours, those things, people might say, well, that was a long time ago, if, you left something somewhere for some years and someone's in the area of where you were at the time due to the fact that you was uprooted some way or another, and you happen to come back to that area and you find your stuff still there. Is that the people who's there now, or are you looking for that possession to get it back? Or are you looking for that to own it again? Or do you ignore it all? Well, that's a long time ago. I don't need it. But it's of value. People have a come up on it. They, whatever, it's relating it to land, they've been able to find gold, oil, some type of mineral on that land, or it's, what's being grown on that land is as an industry, of say shea butter or a shea nut, cocoa that's on that land that been passed down generationally because the people that was harvesting those things and growing those things were taken away and never came back to be able to claim it. So, well, I'm one of those ones who's trying to come back home to claim it. No one from the continent has ever come back to claim us. We're people that feel as though that our brothers and sisters on the continent are not advocating for us kidnapped Africans to return back to where our homeland is. You can talk about the West Africa and how the participation of enslavement of us by not just the invaders, but the brothers and sisters on the continent who were, well, not saying the basic the sisters, we're talking about the brothers who were the kings, or chiefs and those on the continent. They were participants, but it seems to be ignored. That conversation never wants to come up about us kidnapped Africans being returned. Now that we're returning, we got all this conflict. Ghana, Gambia, to name two of them, in that area. None of the African leaders or African governments are trying to put anything in their constitutions to allow us kidnapped Africans to return home without all the documents, all the paperwork, Now that we have the access back to the continent and have the desire to want to come back to the continent, because now that the veil has been lifted, that's where we're from, or we are able to return. As you see, we have joy about coming back to the continent. We feel it's not about the love, but we feel safe being back on the continent. Some of that love that we're feeling can also be a deception, because many of us are, of course, you all know, because many of you have been robbed, as far as brothers and sisters on the continent, you've been robbed through friendliness, but us kidnapped Africans are wide open. Our minds is just like, we back home, this is our brothers, this is our sisters, and we let ourselves become vulnerable, and people have been taking full advantage of our vulnerability and our passion, our love for wanting to be on the continent, There hasn't been anyone to really, on the continent, to advocate for us to return, to be returned. People want us to return to invest. That's been a outcry and people implying for us to come home and invest back to our continent. But many of them don't know the cost factor of us returning back and trying to invest. There's a lot of money we have to come up with for us to be able to be on the continent. Residency, to open to establish a company, work permits, the whole gamut. First of all, many of us, don't have some of the dollars that's being requested for us to be able to get work papers. Those work papers cost a lot of money. We have to come up with a lot of dollars to be able to create employment for ourselves. The government, I don't understand why so much of a restriction is for us. Now, I'm not talking about all these other ethnicities, They do what they do. Most of the time, they're being supported by their government. We're not being supported by our government. So this is whole different dynamics that's taking place there, we are people that need support. We don't have a homeland. We've been a kidnapped people for over 400 years. You want to take that to the biblical, we're even considered in the Bible. And for some of you who study the Bible already know that we're part of the Bible. And that prophecy is relating to us kidnapped Africa and so-called North America. So, and I just want to come on here to just elaborate on that, that we as a people are trying to come home, but we don't see that whole drive on the continent by our African leaders to put any of this on anybody's agenda to allow us to return home without all this stipulation. Many of us have certain kinds of finances that we can sustain ourselves. All we need is the document to say that we're a citizen or we're a resident of the African continent without putting so much of a burden on us to be able to return home with finances. We're looking to come home to, of course, invest, of course, to live just the same. We just not want to come and try to make money off our people. We want to live just as well. It's our land. It's our place just as well. Just because you weren't kidnapped, many of you Africans who's on the continent right now who might be watching is because you weren't kidnapped. Your ancestors weren't kidnapped. That land is not just that land is just yours. It's ours just as well, just the same, just the same as some Africans who's on the continent and they're being denied coming to from Zimbabwe to South Africa, or Mozambique to South Africa, or those kind of area, or Tanzania and going to Kenya, or Kenya going to the restrictions that's there from the Berlin Conference, those borders that was established. It don't make any sense. The African leaders in this day and time, the 21st century, don't realize that those borders was established to keep Africa from uniting and becoming the strong power that it should be, like the United States, like the UK, or Europe. They don't have the restrictions of movement like we do. But these ignorant African leaders and their greed and wanting this power, it's a sick situation. They know they can't be so much of thieves if there's just more of an open border and more people able to engage in voting certain entities in place or in these kind of offices, especially allowing us kidnapped Africans, because we're pretty more advanced in our understanding of the political situation and the activities of not just government officials, but the activities of certain scrupulous individuals who are know how to manipulate people and their mind state, because they keep people blinded, especially through the educational situation. You're not allowing or providing the educational opportunities that can be easily given to brothers and sisters, so they can learn how to read, they can read, become more worldly, the business, learning the business language of America or of English. It's very important for those things, for a society to grow and develop, But I just wanted to come on here and speak on that. More African leaders must be looking into assisting us kidnapped Africans to return, just like many of them are questioning that some of these artifacts that Europe has taken out of Africa to return back to Africa, pull out of those museums and brought back to the continent. why isn't that same enthusiasm or interest is being done for us kidnapped Africans who are throughout the diaspora, the offspring of the our ancestors, children being allowed to be returned home. You know, we're a benefit, not a hindrance or to to the continent. You know, our skill level, our knowledge, our finances would be a benefit to us being back on the continent. You know? So hopefully this message gets out to some of those leaderships to start considering putting this on the floor of Parliament so we can be considered to be returned and given access to being a citizen or a resident back onto the continent. Let us be a tool to change the conditions on the continent. We love the continent just as much as you brothers and sisters on the continent. We're here to build with you. We're considered family. Many of these other people coming to the continent are not considering you family. You're just a tool of their advancement. We're looking to grow as far as family, looking to grow as far as creating employment, you know, and treating you like human beings rather than being treated like a slave, you know. Once again, doing Garvey, not just talking Garvey. Stay strong, stay focused, stay black. Peace.